y'all. Welcome to another episode of Off the Clock. We're going to do something different today, and I'm introducing a new segment. It is called the Eye Test. And basically, we're talking about NBA trends, the analytics and the numbers versus what you see with your own two eyes, right? In this episode, we're going to talk about the Detroit basketball and the reason why the Detroit Pistons will not make the NBA Finals this year. Detroit is having a hell of a season. Number one in the Eastern Conference. All this hype and hoopla. But to keep it a buck, the reasons why the Detroit Pistons will not make the NBA Finals is because of a few reasons. And we're going to talk about those reasons. First off, congratulations to the Detroit Pistons. 2 years ago, you guys only won 14 games. So to win 14 games, to now being the number one team in the Eastern Conference, kudos. Shout out to the Detroit Pistons and their organization. They've done a lot over the past few seasons to improve the roster. I think the development of Isaiah Stewart as a goon to an actual basketball player is it just a testament now to, Bernie Bickerstaff and their player development, as well as, Isaiah Stewart and his eagerness to get better as a basketball player instead of looking as only a goon out there, right? Just out there to hurt people and mucky up the game. Jalen Duren's development is also a key reason why the Detroit Pistons are in first place. He went from averaging 12 points a game last year to upping that to around 18 to 19 a game. He's an instant double-double guy. He's still going to give you 10 rebounds regardless of what it is. High motor. He runs the floor really well. I think Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren are a legit front court in the NBA, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the whole entire NBA. They play with edge. They play with grit. It's understandable why people are calling them, New Detroit or the new bad boys, because they play like that. They play chippy. They play hard nosed. And, I'm going to tell you a little secret. They actually play some defense. So, the Detroit Pistons, they deserve all, the hoopla. They deserve all the accolades that is coming to them. Another person that's impacted, the entire Detroit Pistons organization is Bernie Bickerstaff. If people know Bernie Bickerstaff's story or don't know Bernie Bickerstaff's story, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Bernie Bickerstaff. Bernie Bickerstaff was, he was labeled as a player development coach. One of those stepping stone coaches where he's good enough now to develop your young players. He's good enough to get them to buy in, but he might not be good enough now to take them to the next level, right? For example, my Toronto Raptors, we had Sam Mitchell, who was a hard-nosed coach. He got guys to buy in. He won Coach of the Year in 2007. Then came Dwayne Casey. He came and he won Coach of the Year in 2018. He was a culture shifter. He got guys to buy in, as well as he implemented a hard-nosed defensive system. And then in 2019 now, we hired Nick Nurse. He was our elite championship coach, right? So where Bernie Bickerstaff now is, he's on level 2. And the Detroit Pistons are now trying to find out if he can take, Cade Cunningham, the Jalen Durens of the world now, and if he can take them to the next level, and that would be the NBA Finals. The reason why I think that won't happen this year is because when you look up and down their roster, they have quality role players. But the one piece that they're missing is that consistent 20-point per game scorer. It doesn't matter what's going on in the game. It doesn't matter how ugly the game is. This player X is going to give us at least minimum 20 points a game. And they do not have that. They're going to need that to get to that next level. What happens now when other teams start doubling and tripling teaming Cade and getting the ball out of his hands? He's going to have to pass it to another consistent scorer. And I'm sorry to tell you this, Detroit fans, you probably already know this. Tobias Harris is not him in regards to that. And I thought now that the Detroit Pistons would come up with a solution, especially around the trade deadline. And, Kevin Huerter, a great addition. Karis LeVert, great additions. But at the end of the day, those guys are inconsistent as well. That's why they're coming off the bench. That's why they're role players, right? You need that starting forward or guard that plays alongside Cade that's going to give you 20 points consistently a night, especially in the playoffs when things get a little chippy. The game starting to shorten up a little bit, half court offense and all that kind of other good stuff. If you look to the left and you look to the right and you don't have that consistent scorer, Cade is shit out of luck. Cade can't have a bad game, because if Cade has a bad game, the Detroit Pistons will lose that game, right? So at least when Brunson now, for example, now he looks to his left and looks to his right, he has OG Anunoby, he has Cat, he has Josh Hart. The Detroit Pistons can't say that. All they can say is, we have Tobias Harris. And we all know Tobias Harris. When the lights shine the brightest, he is nowhere to be found. So those are my reasons why the Detroit Pistons will not make the NBA Finals this year. But next year, the future looks bright for them. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. Hit us up in the chat. Peace and love.